Good evening. This is On the Campaign Trail. Every week, we track key issues, moments, and personalities in the long run up to Election Day. But we want to be clear about the map we use. We know that the democratic project is in great danger, and that shapes how we navigate our way to the May 9 elections. It isn't just elections as usual. On the campaign trail seeks to make sense of the elections. We will try to discern patterns in the election landscape, determine paths to victory, discuss relevant policies, seek useful perspectives, all while keenly aware that the anti-democratic clock is ticking. In 2022, hashtag we decide, without neglecting the other basic questions. On the campaign trail, we'll ask how we decide and why we decide. I'm John Nery, and you are on the campaign trail. This week, 2 weeks into the official campaign period, two presidential campaigns mounted impressive campaign drives in Mindanao. Last Sunday, Manila Mayor Isco Moreno launched his first sorties with the seeming backing of the leaders of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. On Tuesday, Vice President Leni Robredo campaigned in Iligan and Cagayan de Oro, continuing her campaign drive with a visit to Bukidnon today. Both were received enthusiastically. What do these receptions mean? How can these help us understand the role of Mindanao in the 2022 elections? Tonight, we are joined by Cagayan de Oro City Mayor Oscar Moreno, joining us from Cagayan de Oro. Former Assemblywoman Samira Gutok, who is part of Isco Moreno's senatorial slate. She is joining us from a campaign event in Taytay, Rizal. We may also be joined by former ARMM Governor and incumbent Basilan Representative Mujib Hataman. And then our senior reporter, Pia Ranada, who covers the Moreno presidential campaign, will also be joining us tonight. Good evening. Thank you for making time for our program, and welcome.
Hi, John.
So first off, can we talk about the very impressive crowds? Assemblywoman Samira, you were in Buluan, Maguindanao. Can you kindly describe the scene for us last Sunday?
So, thank you. So Mayor King Mangudadato, former Vice Mayor, King Mangudadato, one of the hosts, he's the son of Governor Toto, who is running for a political position then, estimates that it's usual naman po for the United Bangsamoro Justice Party to have a minimum of even 40,000, no, a crowd. But syempre, we weren't expecting talaga na it would be that way, no, na we weren't able to attend the morning session because of the schedule think. But yeah, we were told by Mayor King that they were still 40K. It was supposed to be 20 or so, but it rose to 40K.
I think we just lost her. She's on the road. We'll get back to her as soon as her connection clears up.
The datu.
Yeah.
And they've been supporters ever since they took oath. Si Governor Toto and Miss World Sharifa Aquila, who's also running for Sultan Kudarat Governor dito sa Bangsamoro, sa Sultan Kudarat. I'm sorry. So yeah, it was a big crowd po. It was a mass oath taking of UBJP. It was not an ISCO event, of course, but it was a mass oath taking of this political party called Bangsamoro Justice Party. This is the dominant, if not the only party existing in the BARM right now, where MILF chieftain Alhaj Murad Ibrahim, who is now the chair or the head of the party of the whole BARM machinery of 30,000 employees and government ministers, he is the host of this event through Zoom. He wasn't there actually physically, but yeah, Congressman Dong and Congressman Sema, all these officials na high-ranking were there.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Sam. Maybe later we can talk about the significance of the support of BARM leadership in that rally. But Pia, you were there also. And then you also covered a similar rally 6 years ago. Can you give us an idea of exactly what happened there?
Mm. So John, I wasn't physically there because I had just covered Pangasinan campaign events of
Oh, that's
Mayor
right. Yeah.
Isko. But I did watch the live stream, and the live stream pretty much summed up, the energy. Like there really was a huge crowd all the way to the back where there were streamers, and it's not just the size of the crowd. What I really noticed was the energy of the people, because it
Mhm.
really brought me back to 2016 when I covered the pretty much virtually the same event, but Duterte was the principal. He was the guest of honor. And I just remember maybe a smaller crowd, but the same energy. They were going Duterte, Duterte. And like the one last Sunday, it was really Isco, Isco. So it's almost like they just changed names, but it seemed like the crowd really warmed up to Mayor Moreno, and he was talking about issues like they're really cheering. For example, when he talked about how Tondo was used to be a Muslim kingdom, a Rajanate, and a lot of the Manileños are actually descended from these early natives who were Muslims. And so I also talked to Najib Sinarimbo, who is the Interior Minister of Barm, and he said that that's one of
Mhm.
the things that stuck to him, that impressed him about ISCO, that he was willing to admit this kind of history and connected to the people of the Bangsamoro.
Thank you. Mayor Oka,
Yeah,
the drone pictures from Cagayan de Oro, the evening rally. I mean, they were impressive, and they suggest a truly large gathering of Lenny supporters. Did that or the
yeah,
motorcade surprise you?
yeah. Actually, firstly, good evening, John, Pia, and Senator Sam. Good evening to you all and to everybody. I was really surprised. I went to Hingoog. Her sorties, Vice President Robredo sorties, covered yesterday Iligan, and then
Mm-hmm.
Cagayan, Hingoog, and then
Mm-hmm.
Cagayan de Oro. And then today, she went to Bukidnon, no?
Mm-hmm.
And I have not seen the Iligan activity, but I learned that it was well attended, no? It was well attended. And of course, uh, Hingoog was, I was totally surprised. But of course, I was pleased, no? Spontaneous, very spontaneous reception on the part of the people, no? And Hingoog, uh, well, John, I have openly supported Vice President Lenny's presidential bid, no? And I'm running for governor, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, this my campaign is unique in that I don't have mayors in all of the 25 LGUs comprising Misamis Rizal. I have no candidates for mayors or congressmen. I am focusing on the provincial board. No, although we're organizing at the grassroots level,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, expectedly, the organization is not as strong yet. No, it's gathering force, but I was really worried about this Hingoog sortie of Vice President Lenny. But to my surprise, wow, uh, people were lining up on the streets, no?
Mm-hmm.
And she had a rally in we call it the port of Hingoog, and
Mm-hmm.
my God, the crowd was overwhelming, and the motorcade was certainly well participated with people lining up on the streets. We could not even move in Hingoog Market, John. No? Cagayan de Oro, and then in the early evening, we
Mm-hmm.
went to Cagayan de Oro, and my God, we first we landed in the military camp, so the protocol activities were held, and then
Mm-hmm.
we proceeded to the Archbishop's Palace, where I was again surprised because my God, everybody was there. The bishops, the priests, the nuns, and even leaders from other religious organizations. No, and that was not meant to be a rally.
Mhm.
I was made to understand it was just a meeting, but of
Or a
course,
courtesy call. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, but just very surprised. We had our motorcade already in the evening, but people were still lining up on the streets, no? And
What do you think explains the enthusiasm, Mayor?
uh, I think people are more aware now of the issues uh, that are very important for our country, And of course, I know that popularity is heavily tilted in favor of BBM, no. But uh, I don't know if that popularity is reflected is true nationwide, no.
Mhm.
Uh, but I don't know. But what I saw yesterday was a spontaneous outpouring of emotion, a spontaneous and, for instance, for the first time, I heard the Archbishop saying that non-partisanship does not include being silent.
Mhm.
Non-partisanship still does not overcome the duty to tell the truth from the lies, no? And uh, really, many of those who lined up were women, and
Mhm.
there were also men, but I, there were even some, because we went to the military camp. I hope I'm not breaching protocol, but I talked to some officers, and they told me that their wives required them to show their picture with Vice President Lenny. So buti naman, Vice President Lenny obliged, no, and
Mhm.
had photographs with those military officials. Uh, Very natural, I would say. And of course, there was no hakot. There was no hakot, no. Although, of course, I've been told that problem with, there are many trolls, John, no, and
Mhm.
almost everything these trolls have adverse comments, no. But it's not true that there were hakots, no. There were those who offered their vehicles, and you know many wore pink. I would say 90% had their they bought their own, and had them printed. There were those who offered printing facilities. Volunteerism is really very palpable in what I saw yesterday, John. No? And
Okay.
I was surprised, really, and uh, pleasantly surprised.
Pia, you spoke about the spontaneity, the energy of the crowd that greeted Mayor Isco Moreno. And I'd also address this to Assemblywoman Sam, who is able to join us again. So to the two of you, to what would you attribute the reception in Maguindanao? Is it the political machinery of Governor Toto Dadatu? Is it the moral leadership of the BARM chief? Is it the appeal himself of Mayor Isco Moreno? What would explain the enthusiastic reception?
I think the narrative is powerful, John. The narrative is powerful for a poor man, no, for a poor guy like him, formerly a poor guy who got into politics, and as they and Chief Murad were talking he mentioned nga yung story niya about how we're so similarly situated about you being war zone heroes or warriors, while I was the war of the streets or
Mhm.
the poverty. So nakakita ko po, sir, in the crowd that they resonated as well as any fan could. But at the same time, when they heard his story, lalo pang yung kasi itong similar signage din na God is one sa amin eh. Ito yun eh.
Mhm.
God is one at sa kanya, God is
Mhm.
first. So there's a similarity that resonates with the message of there's a commitment to the faith or God itself, the primacy of believing in God, and that holds very emotional resonance in a very faith-based party, in a faith-based population. So I
Mhm.
think he's able to communicate the way any political leader would, and to be able to actually even be allowed not to speak in that crowd in itself is a big it's a big chance eh. So I wouldn't downplay that humility dapat po sa aming part na this is not event organized by Bilis Kilos. This is
Mhm.
not specifically for an ISCO endorsement. It was organic, usual for a UBJP, Muslim Justice Party, or the United Bangsamoro Justice Party to
Mhm.
regularly convene, no? And that
Mhm.
kind of extravagant of proportion at that. But two municipalities po lang yan, ano? And many were
Mhm.
able to go home kasi hindi na kami nahintay at the expected time.
Do
So
you,
what resonates, I think, with the story of the Bangsamoro people of discrimination and historical redress captures in the language of the president, Shabul, na si Isko, that I also come from the poorest.
before I call on Pia, can I have a follow-up question, Ma'am Samira? Um,
Apo, Mang.
you were quoted as saying that the party, the UBJP, um, has uh, committed to support Mayor Isco Moreno. Can you confirm that? I mean, how did you arrive at that conclusion?
Well, I'm checking out all my posts, no, with due respect sa UBJP party. If I
Mhm.
did say, because there's no document, there's no manifesto,
Mhm.
uh, but to be allowed, no, to be speaking that
Mhm.
event of a UBJP party is not just, just basta-basta. Although yun nga, si Secretary General, if that's his position, si Nagib Sinarimbo,
Mhm.
he actually told me na it wasn't an overt, no, yet an endorsement. Although Governor Toto said, Sam, clear as almost clear as day, it is an endorsement. So
Almost clear as
I do
day.
not confirm. Yeah, I do not confirm or validate, but the presence itself, of course, the presence itself, the allowing itself, the speech itself, being able to sit beside all this political leadership, being able to be with them, and upon the invitation also, or the barm itself, the hierarchy of it,
That's
being
right.
able to be there in itself is an indirect.
That's right. Yeah, so my next question is to Pia. Pia, I understand that Mayor Isco was introduced as the incoming president. I mean, that is noteworthy, right? I mean, how did the BARM officials explain this away?
So when I heard that, I immediately messaged Minister Iqbal, and he
Mhm.
said that that's not an endorsement. It was just something that could apply to all presidential candidates, because sabi niya technically daw lahat sila incoming presidents, they're all running for president now. But I guess one thing we can take away though from the meeting, though it wasn't the clear endorsement, was the fact that unang na-meet ni Chief Minister Murad si Isko, which tells
Mhm.
us number one that Isko really does value Mindanao, especially the Bangsamoro. He really made it a point to maybe be the first person to meet with Chief Minister, and the fact that that Chief Minister Murad convened the entire cabinet to meet him, even spoke at the rally where Moreno spoke. So those signals, like as Sam said, their perception, like UBJP in a way allowed themselves to be used for those optics. And I think that says a lot, even if it might not be a clear endorsement. The
Mhm.
fact that they allowed the optics to play out the way it did counts for
Mhm.
something. And if I may add, siguro no, John, aside from Mayor Moreno's own personal charm and his very, very great speaking skills, I would say that the crowd or the support for him in Maguindanao could also be two things. Number one, we have to remember President Duterte is still very popular in Mindanao. He
Mhm.
constantly gets approval ratings above 90%. We know that
Mhm.
the Bangsamoro government owes a lot to the president because he signed the BUL and he appointed all of them right into power. And we know that Isco Moreno is trying to create or trying to brand himself as a kind of Duterte personality or someone who would continue Duterte's programs. And the second
Mhm.
thing is that the Bangsamoro government, full of MILF, right? And they don't forget what happened in the martial law of Marcos. That was a time that gave birth to MNLF, which of course they came from, right? And there was rebellion in Cotabato and Bangsamoro during that time against the Marcos dictatorship. So definitely these memories are still within that group, and so maybe that might also explain their unwillingness to promote a Marcos presidency yet, and
Mhm.
trying to see which of the non-Marcos candidates they could end up endorsing and supporting. And that might just be
Thanks.
is
Thanks for bringing up the Marcosian elephant in the room. I'd like to ask Mayor Moreno and Assemblywoman Samira. Um, Both Isco Moreno and Vice President Lenny are, well, they are statistically tied in the January 2022 Pulse Asia survey in Mindanao at 8 and 9%. Manny Pacquiao is at 13%. And then Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is at 66%. My question is, what can be done to bring down Marcos Jr.'s numbers? And what should your presidential candidate do to jump past Mindanao-born Manny Pacquiao? Maybe Mayor Oka first.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, of course, surveys are good guides, no?
Mhm.
But one has to also understand Mindanao is rather unique, no? Uh, and of course, uh, the population of Mindanao is mixed, and you have some urban centers, and you have some you have the barn areas, no, and of course the barn areas. Uh, it's very important to also navigate, especially uh, as far as BARM is concerned. There are political leaders at the regional level, the provincial level, no. But anyway, John, I think everybody now, including here in Mindanao, has access to social media, has access to telecommunication.
Mhm.
And I think telecommunication plays a very, very crucial role. Although, of course, you have trolls and those things, no?
Mhm.
But I think the people will uh, sooner, hopefully, discern and distinguish between the lies and the truth. So, case in point, in 2016 presidential elections, the trolls were very effective in demolishing national candidates.
Mhm.
Very effective, no? And it was as if these national candidates were falling apart one after the other.
Mhm.
Systematic, I would say. In the last elections, 2019, my opponent was one of the architects of this social media
Mhm.
adventurism.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was deluged with virtually the same intensity of
Mhm.
trolls, no, and demolition jobs, left and right. My God. But John, what happened? The people themselves here in Cagayan de Oro responded to those trolls. And what happened was I just did ignored those messages from those trolls, no, because the people themselves responded and clarified the brought out the truth from the lies that were peddled. So I would like to believe that in due time the people would be able to discern, to distinguish between uh, a lie and the truth, no, and uh, hopefully, whoever carries, whoever is on the side of truth, will pick up.
So,
Uh,
Mayor,
yeah,
so what you're saying is that what happened to you in 2019 when Pompey Lavinia
yeah.
had that kind of campaign but lost. What you're saying is that that's
It did.
possible to happen also to
I
Bongbong
hope
Marcos.
so. I hope
Yeah,
so.
that's
I
right.
hope so that the people themselves would be able to discern and judge for themselves that this is a troll, this is misinformation. Um, in the end, I hope that that would be the solution. The people themselves need to be able to discern truth from lies, and I think that's where the churches are focused now, with the statement that non-partisanship
Mhm.
does not include being silent when there are lies that are peddled, that it is our duty to tell the truth. John, we're voting for a president for the next 6 years. No, and we're in the mid, we're still in the pandemic, and the world is affected economically by this pandemic, and the Philippines is no exception. So the question now is, how do we rebound from this? No, and the revenues are going down. So how will the government finance the expenditure program? So which means the government will have to borrow. I'm reminded, John, of what happened in the 80s. But in the 80s there was a convergence, a confluence of events. You had the
Mhm.
oil crisis, you had
Mhm.
the Hong Kong crisis, remember, in 82, and
Mhm.
then the Philippine crisis, no? So almost every crisis that could possibly happen happened to us. So in the end, you had the Ninoy Aquino killing,
Mhm.
Evelio Javier killing, and so on, no? And so eventually, in October of 1983, I cannot forget that we had to raise both our hands and tell the whole world that we can no longer pay our foreign
Mhm.
currency debts, no, because we did not have the resources to pay them. We had to declare a debt moratorium, and my God, it took 20, 30 years to recover from that. And that is
What they're afraid of under a
that's I think
under a
that's
second Marcos presidency.
whoever will be president, John.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whoever will be president will have to face that difficult situation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hope,
Yeah. I
yeah.
wanted to ask Ma'am Samira, what about you? What can be done to overtake Marcos's numbers in Mindanao?
We are reaching as much as 15 hours of work work of reaching every grassroots community that we can. It's really
Mhm.
targeted po, Kaka John, Sir Mayor Pia. It's really, as Sir Mayor would say, campaign more, work more, reach more. So
Mhm.
I'm very grateful and humbled that I'm part of the Bilis Kilos and all the volunteer movements that are able to arrange the host communities, reach as many in that, it's almost like an house to house itong caravan natin sa Buluan to North Cotabato
Mhm.
to South to General Santos. Even if hindi lahat lumalabas no sa kanilang residences, we're able to have a little Facebook live po that will able to communicate that, hey, I was there in that village, I was there in this corner, esquinita, or this street, or this community environmental location. So Kaka John, it's really about putting up the numbers where you are. You might be third, but
Mhm.
as much as people that you can reach, that'll maybe generate a turnaround. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, before I ask Pia about her reading of the Mayor Isco Moreno's strategy, I wanted to go back to Mayor Moreno. The other day, Mayor, I read that the uh, Leni Robredo supporters in northern Mindanao, Region 10, gave themselves a target of getting 25% of the votes. So, they are not looking at winning the entire region, which Duterte won in 2016, but they are looking at getting one-fourth of that. No? So, of the 3 million voters of Region 10, let's say 80% turnout, that's 2.4 million. So, one-fourth of that, 600,000, that's what they're looking at. Do you think that's achievable, Mayor? 600,000 votes for Leni Robredo in Region 10?
Well, hopefully, and John, in political campaigns, uh, you as you it's like a, snowball, no? Like a snowball. It begins small, and then as you progress, you gather more adherents, no? And
Mhm.
uh, that I am seeing. That I am seeing. When I openly declared support for Vice President Lenny, I was the first one, and
Mhm.
she did not ask me, John.
Mhm.
She did not ask me. I just thought that it was my duty to say so, to help our country,
Mhm.
and uh, uh, now many have followed, bigger ones, and the people are realizing that she offers a leadership that can harmonize the country. We cannot afford to be polarized, John,
Mhm.
and polarizing our country would only make matters worse for everyone, especially Mindanao. And I hope the people will realize that. I have been saying, John, in all my political activities, that never underestimate the collective will of the people. They're very wise. The people are very wise and they know what to do. They know who to choose. No? It's just important for the leaders to define the issues, draw the lines, uh, and for the people to see uh, where the better future lies, under whose leadership shall we have a better tomorrow.
So the wisdom of the crowd, yes.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Pia, I wanted to ask you. You've done a lot of reporting. You're following the Isco Moreno campaign. Uh, what is Isco Moreno's strategy in Mindanao?
Mm. I think three things will give him a chance to win against Marcos. Number one is if President Duterte comes out and endorses him, because we know that
Mhm.
Duterte is still very influential. He's, I think, the second top endorser based on an SWS survey that ADR Strat Based Institute commissioned. So
Mhm.
that he would still have a pull. At the same
Mhm.
time, the second thing would be if maybe if he doesn't get the endorsement of Duterte, then if Duterte publicly rebukes Marcos closer to election day,
Mhm.
like calls him spoiled brat again or resurrects other issues, then maybe that would drive a lot of the Marcos supporters in Mindanao to reconsider their vote. And third is if Isco Moreno would really drum up and bring home the message, the contrast between him and Marcos, in terms of competence and track record. Because we hear a lot, right? Na parang as
Mhm.
governor, he was an absentee governor, talking about Marcos, and
Mhm.
compared to Isco, who has become kind of like a very very famous for a lot of his on the go leadership. He always goes live on his Facebook showing him in
Mhm.
action. We know that he has a lot of, I reported on his infrastructure projects, and really has impressive acts and decisions and programs as a mayor. So if he could just like drum up that messaging and kind of make people realize that Marcos still until now has no platform to speak of, right? Apart from unity, right? Whereas Isco Moreno has already released like a 10-point platform of economic program. So if he can do these three things, if he can do that successfully, like project himself as a worthy opponent and someone who can outdo Marcos on many other things, then perhaps he has a chance of winning in Mindanao.
One of the clearest lessons from 2016 was that even though there was a Duterte Marcos tandem being proposed, being pushed by Nograles and other politicians, in Region 11, Duterte made sure that his running mate won. In fact, it was the only region where Cayetano won. Um, this is just no, I'm laying the predicate. Do you see Isco Moreno going into the Davao region in a big way and like soon, as a way to either continue his wooing of Duterte or already expressing the support of Duterte?
I
What have
think
you heard so far?
definitely I think definitely he will go to Davao region because number
Mhm.
one, there is a ISA movement now, Isko Sara
Mhm.
movement, and
Mhm.
definitely it would be wise for him to capture that, to really like promote it. We know it's already cost him some political points in certain sectors because of mukhang he abandoned really Ong, and now people
Mhm.
are calling him again a political butterfly. But I think there's
Mhm.
a calculus within the team that they're willing to lose on that point, like to be able, maybe they're willing to withstand those criticisms, because at the end of the day, if the Sarah supporters end up backing him instead of Marcos, that would be
Mhm.
a great win for them. Because also I was speaking to Aris Arugay, who's a UP political science professor, and he said there's a chance that the Marcos support in Mindanao is soft support, meaning it's only contingent on the fact that Sarah is his running mate. But if Sarah right now isn't even publicly condemning the ISA movement, she hasn't actually rebuked Isco Moreno in public. So it seems that it seems that she's allowing this to happen without really batting an eyelash. So if this goes on and people are more open to the ISA tandem, then this would definitely mean it's strategic for Isco to show up in Davao region, because after all he showed up anyway in Ilocos. Even if he knows it's a stronghold of Marcos, he still went around La Union and Pangasinan. He still attracted crowds there. So definitely it would be a missed opportunity not to hit the hometown of President Duterte, who is he's trying to emulate and
Mhm.
trying to woo in his public remarks.
Thank you. Uh,
Yeah.
Mayor Oka,
Yeah.
you were, as you rightly pointed out, the first local executive to publicly declare support for Lenny Robredo. And you just also said now that you start with small victories and you build on these small victories step by step. I wanted to ask the your support for Vice President Lenny, the reasons that you give, are they shared by other local government officials in Mindanao? Maybe in private, they share them with you, or uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I
what is
think,
your read?
of course, John, no, but uh, you know, uh, uh, I do not want to be. Of course, the reality in elections is whoever promises big financial support will draw more supporters, no? And that's a reality that that is particularly true in uh, rural areas and even in urban areas. So uh, I think people know. Uh, People are aware of the history. People are aware of the present. People are aware of what lies ahead. No, what are the what are which uh, the distinguished among the potential leaders. No, but uh, one problem in elections is it's really to each his own. Bottom line, uh, it's really to each his own. No, so everybody wants to win. So whoever will support me, that will make me win, will chances are be the person I will go to. But people can also be frustrated, and so it still is that to me. It still is a big uncertainty. The promise of financial support, no, that is a big if. The reality, given of course the uh, sentiment of the people, no,
Mm-hmm.
as the people express these sentiments openly, no, uh, of course the financial supporters will also have a very important role in this uh, decision, in this crossroad. Uh, and you look at the future. Really, to me, John, the crucial thing is, how does the future look like, and what is the situation of our country today, and are we in good hands? Are we better now than say 2 3 years ago? In spite of the gains, John, no, because of the pandemic, we had been on a slowdown, and of course, we want to pick up, we want to recover, we want to rebound, but there are elements that would help ensure the rebound to be a possibility and in an accelerated phase, no? But of course, there are things that would make the rebound more difficult to achieve, and one of
Mayor,
them is, yeah,
if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that first of all, your own declaration of support for Vice President Robredo was non-transactional. In fact, she didn't
of
ask
course,
you, you didn't talk to her,
no,
and so on. But
that's
you're also
correct.
saying that the reality of Philippine politics is that um, money counts, and politicians down the line will be waiting for money. So perhaps those with more money, like the Marcoses, might have an undue advantage. My last question for you,
Yeah,
Mayor, is what can offset the advantage of money? Is it like the enthusiastic crowds that you saw? I mean, you were surprised. What if that is
yeah,
replicated
yeah.
in the rest of Mindanao?
I
Do you think
think
that's possible?
what's important is the realization of the future. How does the future look like? Will it be better for our children? Will we pass on to our children a better tomorrow, to our grandchildren? That, to me, John, is the most basic question. Every parent wants his children to be better than them. No, and whether you're rich or poor, you always desire, you always aim your children to be better than you. And that is, to me, the most crucial element, no, for people to realize that what does the future need, and for us to do now what we can do to have a better tomorrow, so that those other considerations would uh, be overwhelmed by this sentiment of a better tomorrow. I can, for instance, Senator Samira, what has led her to go into this political exercise again, to have a better tomorrow for Mindanao. It's just unfortunate that she's in another camp, but uh, I'm sure the end result is for a better tomorrow. And on the leadership side, the national level, the presidency, I think everybody will end up deciding about the future. That is my hope. Because if John, if money is the factor that will influence our vote, wow, I don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Thank you, Mayor. One last question for Pia. Pia, you talked to officials of the BARM and MILF and UBJP, and they said, well, we haven't really endorsed Mayor Isco Moreno. This is the way we would, in fact, treat other presidential candidates. Do you think, in fact, that other presidential candidates will receive the same kind of overwhelming reception the way that Mayor Isco Moreno did?
I think that definitely, for example, for Vice President Leni Robredo, she will definitely get that meeting with Chief Minister Mura. Definitely, I wouldn't be surprised. He should call the cabinet to meet her because, I mean, after all, she's still the Vice President of the Philippines. So, yes, I would think that all of the official visits, the official meetings will push through. Maybe UBJP would also hold some sort of event for her. But as to the enthusiasm of the crowd, that's something that would be hard to say because, right, judging by the fact that the reception that Duterte and Isko Moreno got, and the fact that they're um, criticizing the Liberal Party and Vice President Robredo, it could show where UBJP sentiments lie. And we know that the Toto Mangudadatu side of that particular clan, right? They've been Duterte all the way. Like they were, even when Duterte was not really high up in the surveys in 2016, they were one of the first to really support him and host him. So we would just see like who in, I'm sure there would be other politicians in Mindanao who, like for example Mayor Oka, who would give her that star treatment. But in Bangsamoro, where Duterte holds so much sway and the officials, the government itself has so much debt to the president, it might be a different story. But again, I can't say for sure because you never know what will happen.
Thank you for your time and your insights. Thank you very much. Mayor Oscar Moreno, who is running for governor again of Misamis Oriental, thank you. Unfortunately, she lost her connection. Assemblywoman Samira Gutok, who is running for the Senate with Acción Democrático and Isco Moreno. And of course, Rappler senior reporter Pia Ranada. Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you, John.
Is it possible that for the second election in a row, Mindanao will help elect the next president of the Philippines? The number of voters in Mindanao has grown by about 20% to about 15 million. Assuming a high voter turnout rate of 80% across the island group and its 6 regions, we are looking at a little over 12 million votes at stake. At this point in time, going by the Pulse Asia surveys, it would seem to me that Ferdinand Marcos Jr. does not need to win Mindanao at all to win the presidency. But for either Isco Moreno or Leni Robredo to do so, they need to win a substantial portion of those 12 million votes. That's it for us tonight. Join us again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Our guest will be Senator Sonny Trillanes. Follow us on the campaign trail because it isn't just elections as usual. This is John Nery. Good night.